Hi guys, welcome to another Divi theme video. This is Jamie from System22 and webdesignandtechtips.com. Well, in yesterday's video we created this little tab over here. When I click on it, it takes us down to a little contact form section there. And we had the question, somebody said, well, can you create a fixed position menu on the side with vertical writing like that? So no problem at all. I've got one over here. And we're using a very similar way of building this. Really easy to do. So let's get started. And this is fully responsive. If I roll down the site, it's going to stay on the right hand side there. Let's hit my F12 key. Here it is on an iPhone 12. We got it there. Let's have a look on an iPad. iPad Air. There it is on an iPad. That'll work perfectly. Let's get rid of this now. Okay, well, let's get started. I'm going to enable my Visual Builder. Once enabled, let's go down to where we want to work. Now, it doesn't matter too much. I'm going to add a row, but we're going to put it in fixed position, so it's not going to stay where we put it. Let's go under this little gallery here. Little green button to add a row. Choose the amount of tabs you want, columns-wise. Now, bear in mind, if you're going to use this on an iPhone or a phone, that you don't want to have too many because it'll be too deep for a phone setting. So I'm going to use 4 on mine. Inside the first column here, I'm going to go down. I'm going to put a little text module. Okay. I'm going to call this one News. Obviously, you call yours whatever you want to call yours. I don't know if you can see it there. I'll make it a bit easier to see in a moment. In fact, let's do that now. I'm going to roll over it, hit the little pencil icon. Take us straight to the styling for that text there. I'm going to make it white in color. That's better. We can see it a bit better now. Okay, well, let's actually give it a background and perhaps a little border. I'm going to go down. I'm going to give it a background. I'm going to make mine black initially. You won't see much because it's kind of black on black there. But when they hover over it, I'm going to turn it to a blue color perhaps. And this is common to all Divi modules. If you roll up over the dark writing within a module, you'll see some little icons appear. Roll over the thing you want to edit, in my case the background here. If there's a little arrow, we can have 2 different values for desktop when the mouse is not on it, and hover, obviously, when the mouse is on it. So when they hover on it, I'm going to make it perhaps blue in color. And default, the time Divi takes to go from desktop to hover state is 300 milliseconds, just under a third of a second, which is pretty quick. If you want to slow that down or speed it up, you can do so over in advanced, and again, this is the same for all modules. Advanced, go down to transitions. There's the default 300. You can type in a new value, or you can slide up the slider. I'm going to take mine to about 3/4 of a second. Transition delay, that means if they put their mouse on it, if you want a delay before it does its transition, I don't, so I'm going to leave it on 0. Otherwise, you can create a delay by putting a number in there. Transition speed curve I like to use for my hover effects is ease in out. They're all pretty similar, but in some situations some will work a lot better than others. So I'm going to use ease in, ease out. That's great. Well, let's give it a little border so it stands out a little bit. So I'm going to go over to design. I'm going to go down to border. I'm only going to give it border top, bottom and right because I'm going to flip this. I'm going to have this on the left hand side there. I know I had it on the right before, but I'm going to put it on the left today. So let's put a border on the top. I'm going to make it 1 pix. I'm going to make it white in color. I'm going to put a border on the right. Same thing, 1 pix, white in color. And same on the bottom. 1 pixel, white in color. And again, of course, that's entirely up to you. In fact, I'm going to leave the border off the bottom there. Let's just take that away because I'm going to stack these on top of each other, so I don't want double lines. I'll leave it like that. We can always adjust it later on. Great, so we've got our hover, we've got our border, and we've got our what it actually says in there. So let's add a few more. Well, obviously you're going to want to link it to somewhere. I guess I'll do that first before we add more. Go to your content. That's always where you'll find link. And if you want to link it to somewhere, you can put your module link in here. If you're linking to your own site, keep it in the same window. If you're linking off-site, Open it in a new tab. That way your site will stay open. I've got a little section down here. I know this has got one. Let's link it to here, in fact. I've got a little section here. Let's say what we got. To link it to a section using an anchor tag, we did this yesterday. Go into wherever it is you want to link, and you can link to sections, rows, or modules. I'm going to go into this section. I'm going to go over to the advanced, and again, this is always where you'll find CSS IDs and classes under the advanced tab in every module. I'm going to give this the CSS ID of news. Give yours whatever you want. It wants to be unique. I like mine to make sense to me. So we've given that a CSS ID of news. Now if we roll up to our little text module here, if we want to link to that section, we can go back into the text module. Content. Links always under content. To link to an anchor tag, you always have to put a hashtag first, and then the name, the CSS ID that we gave it, which was news. That will now link to that little section down there. Great. Well, now we're giving it a link. Let's duplicate this thing. So I'm going to roll over the module. Going to hit the two little squares. There's one. Drag it to where you want it. Left click. Drop it. We'll do another one. Exactly the same. Doesn't matter which one you drag. They're identical. And we'll do exactly the same one more time. Great. Well, obviously, I'm going to have different names inside those tabs for each one. And I don't want any gap in between them. So to fix the gap issue, let's do that first. I'm going to go into the row, the green tab, just so you can see what's going on here. I'll give it a bright background. Gone down to background, always under content. There's our row, all that red area right there. So I want to take any space away between the modules there. That's called guttering. So if we go over to design in our row, we can go to sizing. The little button there says use custom gutter width. If you flip that to on, we can flip this switch all the way down to the left. It'll be 1, which means there's no gutter at all between those little modules. Just exactly what we want. But also, I really don't want any leftover space top and bottom. So in design still, I'm going to close up sizing. Spacing is just below it. Padding top and bottom, I'm simply going to put a 0 in there. It'll put the pics in for you. Hit the chain, it'll do the opposite side. Now you can see our modules are exactly the same size as the row. Okay, well, let's flip this thing. And I'm going to use pretty much exactly the same code as I used yesterday, and I'll put this down below the video for anybody that wants to use it. So I'm actually still in the row for this today. I'm going to go over to the advanced, to the custom CSS tab right here. Again, we're going to use freeform CSS here, the new tab that they've just released here that lets you put more complicated CSS in. And I'll just copy and paste my code here. Once you put it in there, you may get this flag unknown property. I've actually tested this on Blaze, on Firefox, on Edge, and this is Google Chrome here, and it seems to work absolutely fine. But you may be wondering, well, nothing's happened. It's because we need to apply this class name that I've given it, trotate3, because I've got 2 others on there. So I'm going to copy that. I'm going to roll up just a little bit. Again, we'll go to our CSS IDs and classes. This time, it's a class name. Make sure you go to a class, not the ID. We'll paste that class name in without the dot or period in front of it. Once I've done that, you can see our little news things have flipped down vertically like that. Great. But this red area right here, that's what's left of our row. So I've got to make a few adjustments here. I'm going to make that row pretty much the same size as our tabs here, which is probably about 30 pixels, something like that. So still in the row, let's go to our design. I'm going to go down to sizing. Here's the width right here. Let's put in 30 pix. I'm going to put in 30 px. You have to put the px in there. If you don't, it'll put in percentage by default. So just put px on the end if it puts percentage in there. That's pretty close. As you can see, we got a little bit left over right there, but that's okay. But I want to add a little bit of padding to these modules. and obviously change the names in some of them because they're a little bit squashed together there. I mean, it's kind of working. So let's go out of here. And we'll go back into one of these modules. Now, because they're stacked up like that, it may be hard to get to. If you have a problem getting to it, go down to the bottom to your little purple button. Make sure it's expanded by clicking on it. Go over to the left-hand side. We've got a little icon there. It says wireframe view. If we click on that, we can go to the back end and find it easily that way. There it is, our row with our 4 modules. And for the ease of navigation on the back end, you may have noticed if you go into a row, section or module, under the content tab, they all have what's called an admin label. And if you want to identify things easier on the back end, you can give it something like this. Let's call it vertical row. That way, if you've got a lot on your page, you can go in there and it will tell you what each of those are. Otherwise, it's just going to be on the default row and what have you. Great. So we wanted to go into the module. So let's save our row settings there and go into the module. Once you're in there, you can go back. I'm not going to go back right now. News is fine. This one I'm going to say sales. Let's say orders. And this last one, let's say help. And obviously you put in whatever it is you want for yours. Let's just flip back to desktop mode so we can see what's going on. We'll roll on down to where our little row was. Great, we've got that in there. We want to give it a little bit of space all around. So I'm in the last one at the minute, the help there. I think I want to give it perhaps 5 pixels all around just for a bit of space. And this last one, I want to give a white border on the bottom as well. So let's go in there, design. I'm going to go to spacing. Like I said, I want to give it 5 pixels all around, I think. So I'm going to put under padding here, I'm going to put 5 in. It puts in the pixels. Let's hit the chain. We'll do the same for the other one. That's better. It just gives it a bit more breathing room there. Obviously, you can adjust yours as much or as little as you want. Perhaps we'll make that 3 pixels instead of 5 there. That's great. And when you're happy, instead of having to go into all of them to adjust it like this, you can just save it. If you can get into the module, great. If you can't, we'll go to back-end mode. And we were on that 4th one right there, that one. What you can do is right-click on it. We can say extend text styles because this is a text module. I want to extend to all of this row. I'm going to select row, extend. If I flip it back the other way, they all should have the same dimensions now. Let's go on down. Fantastic. Now, if you wanted to, you could give them a fixed height or fixed width. I think it's width because we flipped it round and make them all the same if you wanted to. And I need to give that bottom one a little border and then we'll shoot it on over here. So if you want to make these the same height, let's go back into one of them again. Doesn't matter which one. Let's go to the top one this time. We'll flip back now we're in there. Let's roll down for a start. Let's give it a fixed height of, we'll try 100 pixels. We'll try height. It may be width because we flipped it around. So let's go to design and sizing. We'll try width. Let's say give it 100 pixels, 100 px. Now that's actually done the width itself. You could do a hover effect with using that. So let's do it in the height itself here. 100, 100. Not sure that's going to be enough. Let's try 120. I think that'll work. Orders is the longest word there. And again, let's save that. We'll go back in and we'll extend our styles there. Extend text styles again to the row. Let's go back the other way just so you can see it in real time. Let's apply that now to the row. A little bit short with the orders there. Let's go back in and we'll change that to perhaps 150. It doesn't matter which one you go in. Design, sizing. Change that to 150. That should work. Absolutely fine. We'll save that. We'll extend its styles. Into the row. I'm not going to flip round because I want to go into this one. Now if I flip round, there we go. They're all the same height there. And I'm in this last one here. I just want to add a little border on the bottom there. Go to the border bottom. I've gone to design, down to border. I'm hitting the border bottom. I'm going to make it unpicked and white just like the other ones. Great, well let's pop it over to one side there. Because I left the border on here, I'm going to pop it over to the left today. So let's save this. To do this, we need to go into the row itself, the green tab. Going to go over to Advanced. I'm going to go to Position. I'm going to change position from Relative to Fixed. And you may think, well, half of it's disappeared, but it's actually up under our menu over there. And it's under our little section there. If I roll down, you can see it. Now, if you do that and you have trouble with it going behind stuff like that, you need to flip its Z-index. Things with a higher Z-index always appear on top of things with a lower index. So here's the Z-index. We were already on it down here. If I flip this up, let's roll it down under that section it's disappearing behind. Go down to the Z-index and I pull it up. There we go. It's flipped on top. Let's roll it all the way down the side. Make sure it's going to stay on top all the way down there. That's great. Now we're only seeing the bottom half of it there, so we need to adjust it with the vertical offset. We've got vertical offset over here, and you can drag the slider up or down. I want mine just below the menu, perhaps somewhere like that. I think that's going to work absolutely fine. Okay, another thing I'd like to do, and we're done then, is I'd like to capitalize all the text in all of these and maybe center the text within those modules there. So let's save our row settings. I'm happy with those. Again, I'm going to go to back end or wireframe mode. Roll up to where we were working. Doesn't matter which module we work on. I'm going to go into that first one there, flip it back so we can see what's going on. I'm going to just roll over it, get the little pen or paintbrush up there, take us straight to it. I want them all to be capital, so I'll hit that. That's great. If I roll down a bit, let's flip it into the middle, and it'll be right in the vertical center of our row here. And you know what to do. We don't have to go into the rest of them to do that. We'll save what we've got here. We'll go back into that first one. I'm going to go down. Extend text styles right at the bottom there. This row. Extend. If we flip back. Great, well that seems to work. They're all capitalized now. They're in the middle of their little toggles there. Not seeing a border on the bottom of that one. Did I not put it on? Let's have a look. Let's go back in there. It's our fourth one. Design, border, bottom. Flip so we can see. Yeah, let's give it 1 pixel, white in color. That's more like it. If you wanted to, this bottom one and the top one, you could make a curved corner. If we go up here, we've got rounded corners. And I think it would be this one. Let's uncheck the chain. We only want to do one. Let's try giving this one 20 pixels. Yeah, that's giving it a nice round corner there. That little bit of red that's bleeding through there is from our row. Let's just take that down a bit. Let's make that 20. We'll get rid of that red in a minute. And we can go into the first one as well and do a similar thing. So it looks more like a tab. Obviously, if you want to, you don't have to if you don't want to. In fact, while we're back here, let's take the color away from that background that we put in there just to see the size of the actual row itself. So I've taken that color away. Let's go back into this one now. We'll flip round. And we'll go down to border. And check the chain. And I think this one should be this one. What did we use? 20, wasn't it? I put 20 in there. We got little round tabs there. But of course, styling is entirely up to you. So we should be good to go now. Let's save our changes here. Save draft or publish if you're ready. And let's exit the Visual Builder. And there's our little fixed position menu. When I hover over, it's going to turn blue. When I click on it, it should take us down to that section that we gave the CSS ID. Fantastic. And these are all going to link to the same thing. Obviously, you can link these wherever you want to link yours. It's staying there. It's on top of everything, which is just exactly what we want. That little border makes it stand out nicely on the dark sections there. Like I say, this will probably link to the same section, yeah, because we copied this. And that's a great little feature to have on your website. Like I say, it's fully responsive, so you want to be aware of how many tabs you're using so it doesn't get larger than your screen. Let's go back to the top. So there you go, guys. That's how to use that same method to use a little menu. And don't forget, I'll put that CSS code down below. I hope you've enjoyed this today and found it useful. If you have, please give it a thumbs up, ring the bell, comment, share, and subscribe to the YouTube channel. Once again, this has been Jamie from System22 and webdesignandtechtips.com. Thanks for watching. Have a great day.